Hello my children, your mother has brought you a swatching video. Today we're going to be looking at Tyler's Trinkets Golden Hour Rodeo collaboration that they did with Nick aka Naildaddy and also William Nailhusband to bring us the most wanted band of polishes. Now this collection consists of 6 polishes. One of them is a topper, one of them is like magnetic, and the other are other fun variations. Now as a disclaimer, I did not purchase this collection myself. Nick actually reached out to me and asked if I was interested in getting the collection as PR, and like, of course, I want to try this collection. How cool is that? And so thank you to Nick and Tyler Trinkets for sending this collection to me as gifted PR. I'm not obligated to post about it, create content, or do anything with this collection, but I definitely wanted to celebrate. I do want to talk about the collection real quick because it does come in a special, not collector's box, but collector's bag. So it comes in this cute little black bag, and the polishes for me were stored in here. So after you're done with the black bag, you can of course use it to whatever uses you want to have. Pencils, tampons, whatever, right? And along with the collection, you get a cute little sticker that they all came up with, which is the same thing that the front bag has. And then I'm not certain if this is included in the collection as well, but it's a cute little storyboard that William came up with, and it just kind of gives you the tale of the polishes, which is very cute. Now, I can't show you this in full detail because I am sworn to secrecy. However, if you choose to buy the whole collection, you will get a cute little something as a surprise. Now, a quick little blurb on the pricing. You can get the entire collection for $75 USD, or you can get individual polishes for $13 USD. Now, the polishes themselves, I don't believe are limited edition. However, the cute little black bag is limited edition along with the sticker here as well. As usual, I'll be showing how the polishes apply and comparing them to things in my collection. But yeah, without further ado, let's giddy on up over to the swatches. Up first, we have gold and them there hills. And this is a gold packed topper with gold shimmer, gold metallic micro flakes, and a red to orange to gold to green shifty metallic flakes. So insert the I love gold sound bit here. But on the first coat, it's a topper, so it's not meant to provide full coverage, right? But I was still impressed by the white brush because this is my first time trying this brand. I've never bought or done anything with Tyler Trinkets, so it's nice to see a nice rounded wide brush versus a skinny brush. So for me, application of this topper was super easy. I didn't have any issues with the flakes, and it didn't feel thick either as well. So overall, really easy application. Removal process might be a little tedious. I would probably wear a peel off base coat myself, or if I want it to last longer, I'll probably do the soak off method. But I did want to show this topper over white and show it in glossy and matte as well, just so you can get a general idea of how this topper looks. And then again, showing it over black with glossy and matte, just because the gold particles tend to shine the brightest in darker colors versus in lighter colors. And then I do see some of the shiftiness from the red, orange, gold, and green metallic flakes, but those other color variants aside from the red come at like different lighting angles and whatnot. So here I'm tilting it towards the light at an extreme angle and I can get some green, and then if I face it to the light on my right, I get some orange and a glimpse of gold as well. Next up, we're going on a midnight ride, and this is a black Crelly base with gold reflective glitters. So for me, this applied rather nicely, a little patchy on the first coat, but that's to be expected with Crellys. However, as I'm building up my repertoire of Crellys in my collection, I'm picking up that darker shades tend to perform better in terms of coverage. With there being reflective glitters in this polish, it does dry textured, so a nice coat or two of top coat should smooth it out nicely. When this polish dries, it does look unassuming. Like, it just looks textured or greedy, if you will, and there's nothing that screams excitement, I guess, when it's dried. However, this polish really does well with a glossy top coat, because as you can see, even when I'm applying the second coat and the polish is still wet, like there's glimmers or there's glimpses of sparkles in there. So when adding that top coat, it gives such a demure, cutesy like sparkle in there. It's like giving sequence dress almost. In the matte, it doesn't look that appetizing. I'm gonna say it like that. To me, it doesn't look that appetizing. However, the party trick is when you whip out your phone flash, show this polish through your phone camera with the flash on, and you get those orangey gold reflective sparkles going throughout. I did want to showcase how this polish looks with the gold in them there hills, and I will now be referring to that as the Gith topper, just because gold in them there hills is very hard to say for me. It's like a tongue twister. But yeah, Gith gives a lot of oomph to Midnight Ride. Next up, we have Blood Moon Outlaw, and this is a blackened red base with gold to copper metallic magnetic particles. Hello? Do you see that? It's giving me full coverage in one singular coat, which is crazy. And it looks so pretty. Like, I don't see any patchiness whatsoever. This is such a nice, like, red-orange, but deep base color. Very much in love with this. Unmagnetized, you do get the brush strokes though, so be cautious of how you apply this polish. You don't want to leave your last brush stroke to be from the middle to the top. Something I did notice with the second coat is, one, I didn't feel like I need to do it. Two, I see some gold particles coming in, but like they quickly disappear after the polish has settled, and I'm having a very hard time unmagnetized seeing any of the gold aspect. To me, this is just a red/red orange polish unmagnetized. Super pretty on its own as is, of course. I noticed that at extreme angles with it unmagnetized that it does show a deep purple shade, but at very, very extreme angles. So because I don't have the gold attribute front, face, and centered, I added one coat of Gith, and this one definitely enriched it, made it more appetizing for me, and it just kind of looks, I don't know, amber-esque, if you will. Then I definitely wanted to show how this polish just looks in the cat eye effect, so I have it here in glossy, matte, and with one coat of Gith. Even in the cat eye effect, I'm having a hard time seeing the gold attribute of it, so I'm not sure if my polish is just a little off or what. And then here it is in the velvet effect. Again, glossy, matte, and with one coat of Gith. The velvet effect isn't as strong as I would like, but it's still prominent. And then something I noticed with this polish after swatching it is that it did stain my nail plate, and I definitely recommend that you double up or triple up on base coat. Of course, depending if you don't mind if your nail plate gets stained or not. Next up we have Ghost Town, and this is a warm white crelly with gold metallic microflakes, large gold shimmer particles, and a dusting of silver reflective micro glitter. So the first coat applied rather nicely. With it being a white color and a crelly formula, I was prepared for a very, very uneven and patchy first coat, but looking at the nail here, it's a pretty good first coat for a white crelly polish. It's not perfect, of course, but so much better than I had anticipated. On the second coat, it gave me excellent coverage. I don't think it's full coverage, as I can see some patchiness on the left side near my indents. The more I stare at this polish, the more like horchata it's looking like, except the gold flakes are replacing the brown cinnamon specks in it, but it's giving horchata vibes. Now I did go in with a third coat just to see how much more coverage I can get, and this for me felt more comfortable in the full coverage category. I absolutely love the subtle gold in the mix and the multidimensional look that we get with it being a crelly. It's a very soft, delicate white, and I think this is a perfect bridal shade, but also a very all-around a soft white polish. And for me, I feel like it complemented my skin tone very well. And then Evan comes over here and ruins it for me because I'm comparing it next to his fucking knee for some reason, and this is the perfect shade for his knee. It's the color of his knee. If it had the ever slightest tint of pink in it, it would be his perfect mannequin nude, which is crazy, but I will not falter, y'all. I really like this one. Now, the reflective glitter is very, very, very subtle. It's literally a dusting. I had to really angle my nail around to get it to show up on the camera, as you saw, but overall pretty nice. And of course, had to test it with Gith, and It just adds more gold and a little bit of red in the mix. With it even having just a dusting of reflective glitters, highly recommend you still apply a top coat or two just to get that smooth, even look. So here we have shoddy with the apple bottom jeans and then boots with the spurs, and it applied very smoothly on the first coat. However, it is a little bit teensy bitty patchy near the tip of the nail, and this polish is described as a rich brown mica base with large particle gold shimmer. For me, I see it more of this copper-like tan brown color, and then I had an issue finding or seeing the large particle gold shimmer in the mix. Like when I first apply the polish fresh, I do see glimpses and glamps of the gold aspects in there, right? It's reflecting off the light, it's bouncing off the light, and I see that. However, to me, I wish it was more contrasty. I feel like the base color of this polish really eats up the gold aspects of it. When I have this polish with a matte top coat, I can see the gold particles a little bit better versus how it looks with a glossy top coat. But again, it's the fact that I'm kind of having to dig for this gold quite literally that kind of makes me want to step away just slightly from this polish, because otherwise it's just a copperish polish for me. And of course we can't forget our ride and die Gith. That one will definitely give me the gold attributes that I'm looking for right front and center. Here we have Rhinestone Cowboy, and this is a deep red base with multichrome pigments that shift between red to black to copper and gold metallic microflakes. And oh my gosh, this is just the shade for me right now in this one singular coat. I love a dark vampy red, and the added flakes in there just pairs so nicely as well. Now, something that I noticed right away with this formula is that it's the thickest of the collection, and it's probably because of the amount of flakes that this polish has in there. Now, two caveats that I'm noticing with this polish specifically is that I'm having a very hard time seeing the multichrome aspect of it. Because the base is this dark deep red, one, it dries down to a black base with a hint of redness throughout, and then when you add that second coat, it really just looks black, and the only time I'm seeing that little red attribute is at certain lighting or because of the flakies. Now, the flakies themselves are described as gold. However, because of the red base, it encompasses the flakies and turns them red. So I predominantly only see red flakies. Now, moving back to the multichrome aspect I had is I'm having a hard time seeing the multichrome aspect. I was trying to wiggle my finger around off camera to see if I can notice the shift that is described of it going to red to black to copper. The red to black is a little hard for me because the base color itself is this black red of sorts, and I definitely don't see the copper shift to it either. So I'm missing the main attributes that this polish is described as, which is the gold flakies and the multichrome aspect. Yo, this is Yanelli from the distant future or past, depending when this video gets uploaded. But I was wearing Rhinestone Cowboy for not even a full day, honestly. Almost 24 hours, and I just took it off, and I noticed that it stained my thumb pretty darn bad. So I did 2 coats of peel off base coat and then 2 coats of Holo Taco sticky base. Thought I would be safe, the reds, but you can see here there's like red staining, and then the red magnetic one also stained my ring finger because I was wearing a Skittle, but it stained my ring finger here, and same thing, 2 coats of peely, 2 coats of the sticky base, and just penetrated right through. So those reds do stain, just be cautious of that. So I was lucky enough to get some sunlight here, and from pinky to thumb I have Midnight Ride, Blood Moon Outlaw, Ghost Town, Boots with a Spur, and Rhinestone Cowboy. And then on my right hand, same Skittle, but each nail was topped with 1 coat of Golden Dim Dare Hills. And both hands and all the nails are just 2 coats of each polish, with the exception of Golden Dim Dare Hills being 1 coat on the right hand, and there is no top coat added to these. So this is how the polishes look like without a glossy top coat or matte top coat. Something I want to point out is that Blood Moon Outlaw and Rhinestone Cowboy, although I did describe them as looking black when applying the second coat or doing the cat eye effect. Compared next to Midnight Ride, which is a true black color, those other two have more of a red leaning tone to it. So they're not like a true black, but even throughout these different lighting scenarios, you can see that it's a very, very, very dark red, where it borderlines being black. Now, something I don't really show in my swatch and review videos is the nail art that I tend to do with certain collections. So here I did a Western themed nail art design, and honestly the reason that I did is because I joined a collaboration for where a bunch of us who are fans of Nick or are friends of Nick came together to celebrate his birthday that happened on Wednesday, August 27th. And I thought it would make sense to create a nail look using all 6 shades within this collection and make it seem Western inspired, because the collection is Western, like Wild West Western type of vibes, right? So the pinky has what was supposed to be akin to boots, like cowboy boots designs. So the white is like the seam, and then you have the star. And then the rest of the nails are pretty self-explanatory. I magnetized Blood Moon Outlaw with the circular part of the magnetic wand to get that almost velvety look, and then added cow prints on it, and then of course the cacti and the desert type of vibe, using the topper as almost a night skyish type of thing against a nude color base. So lots of fun coming up with this design here. If you're interested in seeing what others have done for Nick's birthday collaboration, you can go to the hashtag that I have on screen there over on Instagram and check them all out. Moving on to comparisons, up first for gold in them there hills, I have here Halo Taco's Gold Flake Taco. Now, Halo Taco's Gold Flake Taco doesn't have the extra elements that Gold in them there hills has, but it's pretty on par, except the flakes are more greater in quantity, so there is those differences there. Next up, we have Midnight Ride, and for that, I decided to compare it next to Halo Taco's Late Checkout and Halo Taco's Choco Halo. So I picked out Late Checkout because they also have those orangey reflective glitters on it, and I wanted to see how it compared to the reflective glitters in Midnight Ride. However, Late Checkout has very like truer orange reflective glitters, where Midnight Ride does lean a little bit more on the yellow side, so making it more gold. And Choco Hollow, just because it was that dark base with the gold attributes on it, I just wanted to see how it compared next to Midnight Ride. Next up for Blood Moon Outlaw, I have here Halo Taco's Tax Haven and Halo Taco's Unrobert. I mainly chose this two because I wanted to compare colors next to Blood Moon Outlaw unmagnetized, as I felt like there were quite a bit of similarities here. Specifically Tax Haven, it has like that same shiftiness going throughout with Blood Moon Outlaw, whereas Unrobert leans a little bit more on that just redness aspect of it, not so much of a orangey shift going throughout. And then for more comparisons, I have here Mooncat's Nocturne and Mooncat's the Arsonist. Now Mooncat's Nocturne is a magnetic, but I wanted to compare it next to Blood Moon Outlaw unmagnetized, so you can see those similarities and differences there. However, when magnetized, these almost look very identical. Nocturne just has those extra flake elements added in the mix that differentiates it from Blood Moon Outlaw. And then the Arsonist is just a true like shiny red, so it doesn't have that magnetic attribute to it, but otherwise I feel like Nocturne is pretty darn close. And then I have here Mooncat's Dawn of the Empire and Halo Taco's Feeling Sparks. I predominantly wanted to show these two polishes next to Blood Moon Outlaw magnetized in the cat eye effect, just so you can see those similarities and differences. And honestly here, Dawn of the Empire is another one that's super close to Blood Moon Outlaw. So if you didn't get your hands on Dawn of the Empire because they were a limited edition collection, I definitely think that you can get Blood Moon Outlaw and satiate that lust for Dawn of the Empire. And then Feeling Sparks, you can see the red base better, whereas Blood Moon Outlaw's base color tends to lean more on the darker side. And then the magnetic pole of Feeling Sparks is completely different than how Blood Moon Outlaw pulls. And then for Ghost Town, I have here Mooncat's Memento Mori and Halo Taco's Glazed Over. I predominantly picked these two because they both have some element of warmth in it, just as the gold is in Ghost Town. However, the elements are shimmer, whereas Ghost Town has flakes and shimmers. And then the color of the white base itself is also different. Memento Mori has more of a cooler toned white, almost leaning a little bit blue. I think Glazed Over is the closest in terms of how warm the white is, but quite a difference. And then lastly, I wanted to compare it next to a jelly white and a creme white, just so you can see how in between Ghost Town is. So I have Island Peace Canvas, which is a creme color and is a stark white. And then I have Island Peace Coconut Cream, which is a jelly polish and it's very soft. So with Ghost Town being acrylic, you can definitely see those differences between a creme, acrylic, and a jelly. So next up for boots with the spurs, I have here Halo Taco's Fairy Tale and Halo Taco's Tax Haven. Now I did have a hard time finding something to compare it to since I don't really have any coppery browns. Halo Taco's Fairy Tale is a magnetic, so I'm showing it unmagnetized here, and you can tell that it's more of a pink leaning soft brown. Tax Haven has that redness attributes in it, so quite different. And then I thought of comparing it next to Mooncat's Scum and Villainy and Mooncat's The Trouble with Immortality. Scum and Villainy is another magnetic that I'm showing unmagnetized here. Very similar to Halo Taco's Fairy Tale where it's more pink leaning brown. And then The Trouble with Immortality is just ever so slightly brighter than Boots with the Spurs. And it has more metallicness in there that make it more shiny and vibrant. So kind of there, but not really. For Rhinestone Cowboy, I have here Mooncat's Bottled Rage and Island Peace Merlot. And I picked Bottled Rage because it has that blackened base with red shimmers going throughout. And it's very similar to how Rhinestone Cowboy looks. The difference is that Rhinestone Cowboy has flakes instead of shimmers, but very, very close in my opinion. And then Merlot looked a lot darker in the bottle than it does on the nail, so it's on its own over here. But again, I would say Bottled Rage is very close to it. And then continuing the theme of dark reds with some elements in there, I have here Halo Taco's Misfire and Halo Taco's Or Bite Me, and both of them show more of a true dark red versus a blackened base on it. And of course the different elements that each polish has is very different. Rhinestone Cowboy has flakes, whereas the other two have some variant of holographic in the mix. Alright, that concludes the swatch and comparisons portion of this video. Overall, I really enjoy this collection. In my opinion, if I can create nail art using the entire collection, or if not most of the collection, then to me it's cohesive enough that nail art just kind of forms in my mind. So this one does exactly just that. I highly recommend that you check out the hashtag here on the screen over on Instagram, because a couple of us did gather together to celebrate Nick by doing either recreations or our own original works. The only things that I had some form of issue or complaint on was that certain polishes, and I've already mentioned it in the swatch portion, some of the elements that were noted in the product descriptions, I had a hard time seeing. For instance, Rhinestone is described as a deep red base with red, black, copper multichrome pigment and gold metallic microflakes. So with that one, for me, I knew the base blackened itself or really deepened itself, and it predominantly looked black over two coats. And I was trying to see if I can get the copper shift to it, but I just wasn't getting it. And so I wish I could see some of those specific elements that I noted earlier more visibly versus having to like look for them. But again, other than that, I relatively enjoy this collection. I mean, it's dark moody colors and I like dark moody colors. However, a surprising favorite is Ghost Town. It is such an excellent palette cleanser for me amongst the sea of dark and moody polishes. It's so soft. It's an off-white. It's not a stark, vibrant white. It's soft, it's warm, and it has these gold specks. I'm a huge fan of gold myself as well. So I don't know, amongst the dark and moody colors, one, it stands out on its own, but two, the way it just, I love the way it looked on me, y'all. I can't. And so I dubbed it my favorite of the collection. Now, I know I usually have a quip on similar colors amongst a single collection, and we do have two deep dark reds in this collection. However, I am okay with that because They're different elements, different formulas. One of them is a magnetic, and I can play it up 3 ways, possibly even more ways. Have you all seen the Reddit forums for magnetics? It's crazy how many methods there are now for magnetization. So yeah, I can play it out multiple ways for a magnetic. And then the other one is a flaky one, and it's on its own kind of thing, you know? So they're different enough for me that it's like, okay, my brain can appreciate both of them because of their individuality. I would have more of an issue if it was the same formula and they looked very similar, like with the dark red aspect of it at least. But yeah, I don't have much else to say. Again, fabulous collection. Great job, Nick, William, and Tyler in coming with this up. I kind of hope we get to see a little BTS on how they decided to come up with this collection and like why certain colors were in there, or I don't know. That's just me though, because I enjoy seeing the back end of stuff. But yeah, if you like to see other indie polishes that I swatch, right now it's a total of 2 if we include this video. Check out my playlist over here and it'll take you to my last indie polish I swatched. And if you'd like to see other things I've done, you can click here and it'll take you over to my profile where you have my videos at your disposal. Thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.